Welcome back to Home Improvement Woodworking. I sometimes get comments from viewers about how neat and tidy my workshop looks. My wife just laughs at those because she knows over here it's a disaster. I spend a lot of time here organizing the space and making sure everything's at my fingertips so I'm really productive when I'm working at my bench. Over here, it's a dark area that's been neglected. I'm having a hard time finding things, so I've purchased some small parts organizers. I'm building some cabinets, and we're going to transform this with a makeover that's really going to shine. Stick with me, I'll show you how it's done.
Our videos show you how to add value and character to your home.
This is the centerpiece of the room, so it really needs to visually work.
Learn how to get quality results that you'll be proud of. Welcome to Home Improvement Woodworking.
There's a whole lot going on here that isn't working for me. I've done some research to figure out my solution for small parts, and I've come up with two new things. One is the HDX system. This is 2 cases here of multiple part storage. I purchased 4 of these in total, so that's going to help me get organized here. The second one is for very small parts. This one's by Sumline, and in my research they're really high on quality. So this is something that should last me for a long time and something to help me deal with all those small furniture parts that I'm dealing with for furniture repairs. What I've got is a plan that I've laid out. Let me walk you through step by step so you can understand what's not working for me here and why I'm changing it, and then you get to see the vision of what this is going to become. Let's start the tour over on the left side here. I've got my drill press on top of this tool cabinet, and it's working well for me here, so that's going to stay in place. If we move some of this stuff out of the way here, again, it's just clutter. Some washers. This cabinet here has done okay over the years, but it's about 20 years old, and I've dropped a few of these with some weight in them, and they're just shattering. I've glued a few of them back together again, but this has got to go. On the back wall here, I've got some open shelving, and I thought this was a good idea because I could use peanut butter jars, but there's 2 reasons this isn't working. When I've got 2 things stacked in front of each other, you can't see what's behind it. So accessibility is one of the issues. But you can see here, when I've got a small number of parts, I'm really taking up a lot of storage space for not getting a lot of benefit out of it. So this cabinet has got to go. This is another small parts organizer I have, and this one in comparison is much better. It's got flexible sides on it, so these containers are much more durable. And what I do is keep all my screws here so I can pull out a drawer, use the screws, put the drawer back. So really accessible. My only issue with this is the labels are on the drawers and they're hard to see here at the top. So this needs to be lower than it is right now. And then I've got my sound system that needs to stay here. And I've got a cabinet down here that's got a bunch of clutter in it. When I originally built this cabinet, it was great for what I needed, but over time I've added more and more tools. So this is, for example, a plug cutter. I've got a bunch of tools in here for the drill. There's a number of hole saws I've got here, different countersinks, drill bits. It's just become a cluttered space. So I need to take this out and get this more organized. I've got some spare tools in here, and I've got a bunch of stuff here. Gloves, I've got some binders, I've got some sanding drums. All of this really needs a home. And the problem is, I've got these drawers. I've got 9 drawers in this base cabinet, but again, I've got small parts in all these different things. So I really need to clear up space like this so I can take larger items and put them away. Let me show you what my plan is. The first thing I do is I make a scaled drawing of what I'm working on. So here's the workbench and the garage door track. You can see that's how it's laid out here. The drill press here is going to stay there. So what I've done is I've mapped out all the fixed elements so I can figure out how to lay out my cabinets. Now originally I thought I'd put this piece right in the center. This cabinet's going to be for my nail guns. This one's for the small parts organizers. And then this one is for the existing small parts organizer I have. So I can set that down onto the bench, and then I can see those labels on the drawers from the right angle. But what I realized is, once I made up my speaker, I can't actually fit it in anywhere. So I'm going to knock this down, and these are all going to be the same level on the top. I can put the speaker in, and we're all good to go. Now there's no doubt about it, this does take some time. To lay it all out to scale is important to me because it allows me to make sure I'm getting everything I want out of the space. I've measured all my toolboxes here so I know the size and dimensions I need to make this cabinet on the left. I've measured out these boxes here so I know what to plan for on the box on the right, and the center cabinet is that big cabinet that allows me to get my binders and manuals out of the way. This area is on the opposite wall as my workbench, but you can see my lathe is in the way here. But for a small shop, I've got it on wheels and it makes it easy to move my tools around. I'm going to unload the shelf here, and it's time to test out the first organizer. So there are latches here on these containers. So if I unlatch the bottom one, the top one comes off. So now I can open this up. Oh, I need to unlatch that as well. So it looks like these black areas here are fixed dividers, and the orange ones, yeah, they're removable. So I can adjust what size we want here. So let's start loading up the small parts organizer with the contents from the peanut butter jars and see how far we get. Now there's a couple here that are empty, so let me take those out of the way. And look, I've even got cobwebs here. Now I've got a mix of screws and nails here. So I've got a big batch here, a big batch here. Here's another larger batch. Some miscellaneous nails. So we'll start with these ones, get them put in. And there's another one up here. Let's see how they go in. Okay. Oh, that's actually big enough to fit in there. I didn't think it was. So these are galvanized RDox nails. Good for use on decking and building outdoors. Okay, maybe this opening's a little bit too small for these. Let's just see. If I get them all parallel, probably work better. Yep. Okay, so they all went there. That's one out of the way. Here's another one. Now, these are just straight nails. I hang on to these because sometimes I use them as pins for things. Where do they fit? They'll fit there. So that's two out of the way. This is a mix of nails, just miscellaneous stuff. So I think rather than trying to figure out where that goes, it's best that I keep this in a container and then I can put it in a sorting tray like this. I can dump it out, see what I'm looking for, and then put it back in. So I'm going to leave that in this container for now. There might be a better container for it later. I'm really liking these removable dividers. That way I can make them the right size for the nails that I have. So it looks like this is the same type of nail. So I'll take the framing nails, add them in here. That's one less container. Now I've got some smaller nails. They fit well there. And these are even smaller. So they'll go in there. In here, it just looks like odds and ends in this one. So what I'll do is dump it into here. Gets rid of another one there. And then these ones are for brackets. And I've got a couple of brackets here from building a fence. So let's see, will they fit in here? Not well, but if I take this out, I can put these brackets in and these nails. So it seems to maximize the space here, what we need to do is make sure that all the nails are running parallel to each other. If I pick this up, you can see there's a bunch that are intertwined here. and they're just wasting space. Okay, with them all running parallel, these now fit in here, and the lid closes.
Please give us a thumbs up so more people will see our videos.
So I've got rid of 9 peanut butter jars here, compressed in this small footprint. So here I've got 3 more bays. I've just put the dividers in here to keep them in here. They fit well down here. So a little bit more room, but I'm really happy with how this is tightened down. And it's nice that these have latches on either side because it helps to hold that lid close. So that's pretty compact. I say that's a win. Let's try it out with the screws. You can see here I've gotten rid of a lot more containers. There's 11 screw containers that I've used to fill this small parts organizer. Now you can see here how much a smaller footprint this is relative to these being on the wall. The next small parts organizer I have is this one here, and it's got smaller pockets in it. That allows me to have things of smaller quantity in a very compact space. I'll get to that after installing the cabinets. Now there are 2 previous videos in this series. The first one is about how to build simple cabinets. I showed the easiest possible way to build cabinets for your workshop or for somewhere in your home. The second video shows how to build a cabinet to hold these organizer containers. What it does is allows me to pull out each one individually rather than having them all stacked up and having to lift a bunch to get to the bottom one. You'll find a link to these videos in the video description. Installing upper cabinets by yourself can be challenging unless you've got the right tools. I use spreader clamps a lot in my workshop, and here's a good example of how they work. This is essentially working like a jack to get the cabinet up to the right height. Now when you're installing cabinets, you need to screw them into the studs from the back, and that's through the nailer. And you'll see that detail in the video when I build these cabinets. But you need to screw them in the back, but also connect them to the cabinets on the side. So the key here is getting them in place and then clamping them. Now I'm using the second spreader clamp to get the tension off of the cabinet, and what that's doing is providing the horizontal support that I need. And then it's just a matter of putting a level on top and making sure that the cabinet is level. That's what I like about these clamps, is you can adjust them a little bit at a time and get that perfectly aligned. Then you need to measure where the stud locations are, mark those, and then pre-drill a hole through the cabinet and through the drywall, and then drive in a good hefty screw. To install cabinets, you need to secure them to each other, so it's just a matter of pre-drilling some holes here and then driving in some screws. After doing all this work, I decided to replace the countertops with some cherry plywood. It's a fairly simple process, just a matter of putting on some solid edge banding, and I'm putting on a coat of oil here to add some richness. The oil on this countertop needs to dry for 24 hours before I start putting layers of shellac on, so that needs to sit for now. I've got a door here that I built for this cabinet, and I'll show that to you at the end. I'll put it on. But right now, we can start loading it up.
Be sure to go to our website and subscribe to our newsletter for links to new videos, workshop tips, and more.
Perfect. Okay, on this side, I have room up here for a speaker. So this is going to go up here. So my sound system will go here. And then this is where these small parts organizers are going. So this was the one with the nails. This is the one with the screws. Now, it will be good if I can add some labels to these. So then I can tell what's coming in and out of here. Right now I'm just doing it by memory. And I have 2 more empty ones here that I can fill up. If you're interested in these HDX organizers, there's a link in the video description, as well as this one from Sunline. So let's open this up and see what we've got. Oh, got some labels and a marker. So here, oh yeah, lots of small spaces for all the small parts, little washers, T-nuts, insert nuts. That's going to work well. The reason I'm so excited about these small parts organizers is because I've been purchasing parts, putting them in a drawer, and losing them, not being able to find stuff. So let's pull out this drawer and get things organized. In this drawer I've got a number of things. These are report covers, just clear plastic. I use them to prevent things from gluing together. There's some shims. So Velcro straps. Some lead for pencils. But here's an example of, I've been starting to group these things together. These are furniture parts. So this is a cam. This is for holding a bolt together, like this. There's some insert nuts. These are some small dowels. These are some threaded coarse threads for going into particle board. So I've got a bunch of those that need to go in. There's some plastic bags I've been hanging on to, I don't know why. There's some more screws, some miscellaneous parts, flathead screws, 2 3-inch screws are number 12, wall anchors, concrete screws. This is my box of 1.5-inch screws. I buy them in packs of 500. They don't all fit in the drawer, so they come in here. There's some more dowels. So you can see there are a bunch of parts. Let me pull them all out, put them on the bench here, and then we'll see about organizing things. So I made it to the bottom of the drawer, and the irony is I've got a cutlery divider in here to help organize. I found some tools that I didn't know I had. Don't use these very often, obviously. And guess what? More peanut butter jars. So if you want to see what came out of here, let me angle this up. There's the workbench. So all of these things need to be organized, and you can see why. I've got small parts, a lot of small parts. I'm eager to pack these down into a few organizers. I didn't fill this up with as much furniture parts as I thought I would, so there must be more hiding around here somewhere. My hardware drawer, it's a pretty big mess too. Oh, there it is, sofa leg hardware. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so we've got some nuts, some insert nuts, empty wrapper. If you haven't seen these before, these are what's called a hanger bolt. This is what goes in a furniture leg. So this screws into the wood, and this goes on with washers and threaded nuts, or they go inside an insert nut or inside a T-nut. So this is how furniture goes together. These are the parts I was looking for a few weeks ago, and I couldn't find them. Another thing I want to put in here are my number 10 screws. So I carry these around for furniture repairs because the easiest way to deal with a stripped hole is to take an number 8 screw out and put a 10 in. So I've got 10s and 12s that allows me to scale up to the next size of screw. So I'll put those in here, and I can see why these labels came with this. So I can label these the size and the length on each of these dividers and keep it nice and organized. I've got some cabinet closures here. I've got even some older ones, and I've got several different types of nails I'm going to add here. These are for cabinet backs. Different screws for hardware I'm going to add in here, and then all my furniture repair parts are in one organizer, and I know where to find them. I still have a lot of parts here, but I don't have another Sumline organizer. I might have to order one. So I'll use one of the HDX, and we'll see how I can fill this one up. Well, these two small parts organizers really made a dent in organizing this cabinet. I do have some miscellaneous stuff to throw back in here. I think I've got a drawer organizing project in my future. One thing I want to show you are these sorting trays. They have a funnel on them so you can pour them in a container, and as I'm finding round-headed screws or flat-headed screws, I'm throwing them in here. Now, it's not what they're designed for. If you've got a bunch of miscellaneous screws, you can dump them out here, find what you want, but you can see the funnel just funnels everything back into the container. They're pretty neat trays. Now, I still have a couple packages of wood screws here to deal with. They're going to go into the cabinet over here with all the drawers in it. I use wood screws a lot, so I'm going to be able to take out a drawer, take it to my workstation, and then bring it back and put it in. I can now put my binders away, and I've got my sharpening supplies I'm going to put here. I've got some spoke shave parts I put here, my spritzer. Here's a SawSet Pro I'm going to give away at the end of the video. This is a protractor for the workshop. Stay tuned for the details. On the bottom shelf here, I'm putting all my drill accessories. This is an old kit that I have. These are brace and bits. They don't go in a drill press, they go in a brace and bit. So I likely won't be using these very often, so I'm just going to put them here. I've got a couple of drum sander kits, so I'll put them here. And if you ever break small drill bits, it's hard to find replacements. I recommend getting a kit like this. Then you've got lots of small bits that whenever you need one, you've got access on hand for your supplies. Now, this container I've actually decided to keep. In fact, I doubled down on it and found another one that's exactly the same. Really good for organizing all these little parts. And yes, I've hung on to a couple peanut butter jars. These are the hole saws. These are some wire brushes and an extra hole saw. So I'll keep them in here. I've got one really long drill bit, so I'll just leave that in here. And I've got this articulated driver as well. It's handy for getting into tight spots. So just squeeze that in. And then I've got some large Forstner bits. I'll put them there. An old drill bit set, a couple of them here, and some brad point bits. Some countersinks. This is good for cleaning off the drum sanders. I can now bring the drill press in. Slide it in place and plug it in. Now, I have taken the power here behind the cabinet, and I've got a power bar at the front here so I can plug my tools in. I've got some room on top of the cabinet here. I can put some jigs. This is a 45-degree angle jig that I sometimes use on the table saw. So that'll fit up here well. And here's another jig that I use. This is for cutting out mortises with the router. So I think that'll go up here as well. Perfect. Now I can bring in my organizer drawers, put them here. So you can see this is a much better setup because I can now read the labels on all these drawers. Now, another tip for you, I've got an adhesive strip here. This is used for making jigs. This is from Veritas. It's basically just measuring tape, and it's great for if you're second guessing screw lengths. Sometimes I'll take a screw out of a drawer like this, come back and want to put it back in, but I want to make sure I get it in the right spot. So this just allows me to measure, that's 1.5 inches, and it goes in the right spot. I've also got my speaker cable here. I've got another one that I need to get to, but the radio can go on top here, and I can plug it in. I got rid of the second drawer cabinet I had that was brittle, and I've loaded everything up in here, so these can now go away. As promised, here's the SawSet Pro I'm going to give away. My challenge for you is to help me find a nice solution for these screws so they can sit on my workbench. These screws are miscellaneous, flathead and roundhead, and I need to be able to sort them and then put them back in the bin again. So please find the best solution you can find on Amazon. Put a link in the comments below. I'll look at them all and choose a winner by the end of November. Now, I've just had a special order come in. This is a set of T-nuts that are very difficult to get a hold of. It took me a month to get these in. These T-nuts are unique. They're really, really rigid, and they've got 3 countersunk holes here. So I'm glad I have these. And I'll put them in the storage container here. And now I know exactly where they're going to be whenever I need them next. I'm really happy with how this is turning out, and I built a door here to cover this up and really dress it up. And I've got a little something special I put on the door as well. So let me get it hung on here. It just clips on these hinge clips here. And there we go. I want to give a shout out to Chris Sutton. He's been our graphic artist since we created this logo back in 1999. And I also want to thank Brooklyn Bulletin Signs for putting on this vinyl and making it look really great. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That tells YouTube this is a great video and they'll share it with more people. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and click on that bell icon to get notified every time we publish a video. Until next time, enjoy your time in the workshop.